Hi there, guys and girls. Welcome back. I am Mrs. Singleton, 5th grade teacher here in St. Tammany Parish in one of the public schools. So we are back together. Thank you for tuning in. We're back together talking about multiplying whole numbers. Last time we were together, we looked at multiplying whole numbers, but we looked at multiplying whole numbers using the standard algorithm. Today, we are going to look at multiplying whole numbers using the area model. And again, before we get started, please get comfortable. I want you to enjoy this. I want you to be in the most comfortable place that you can be in as we begin to work. And keep this in mind as we're going through this particular method, guys and girls. As I mentioned to you before, there are so many avenues when it comes to math. There are so many avenues that you can use to get to the right answer. Choose what method works best for you. Again, please make sure you do whatever it is your teacher tells you. Thank you. But please, I also want you to keep in mind, find a way that works best for you. All right. So again, last time we looked at the standard algorithm. Most people are comfortable with the standard algorithm because that's something that you use over and over and over again. All right. Today we are going to look at the area model. So sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Here we go. So the area model. All right. The area model for multiplication starts off as a rectangle. All right. So here's my rectangle. All right. So what am I going to do with this rectangle, Mrs. Singleton? Well, first of all, I'm going to go ahead and break down my first factor. How do I know it's a factor, Mrs. Singleton? Because we're dealing with multiplication. And the part to a multiplication, in this case, expression, we have a factor times a factor that's going to give us an overall product. Remember, parts to a multiplication equation, factor times a factor gives us a product. Thank you. All right, so let's look at this. We're going to take 348, our first factor, and we're going to break it down based on the digit value. All right, so this 3 is in the what place? Thank you, hundreds place. All right, so that 3 that's in the hundreds place represents 300. This 4 is in the, thank you, tens place. So that gives us, that represents 40. And then we have 8 that's in the, you guessed it, ones place. All right. So I have it broken down here based on the value of each digit within the number. From here, I'm going to go ahead and draw my lines. All right. And right above my lines, I'm just going to put my addition signs. All right. So 348, we now have this broken down according to the digits value or in expanded form. All right. So I know you're familiar with that. All right. And that takes care of our first factor. We're not quite ready to multiply just yet. Stay with me. All right. So now we need to look at our second factor, 24. All right. And we need to break this factor, our second factor down. We need to break our second factor down by the value of each digit. All right. So this 2 is in the, thank you, tens place. So that represents 20. This 4 is in the ones place. Yep. All right. And that's just 4. And what I like about the area model, guys and girls, what it does for us, and I don't know if you've realized this, but one of the things I love about using the area model is that as I'm going through it and I'm thinking, okay, what's the value of this digit? What's the value of this digit? It's actually, believe it or not, all right, it's actually refreshing another skill that you worked on at the beginning of this school year. So thank you, area model. Here we go. All right, so we're going to go ahead and draw our line to separate here. Here we go. All right, so now it's time for us to multiply. Something else I like about the area model, guys and girls, is that it has zeros. Typically, when it comes to multiplying, students are a little hesitant. They're a little intimidated, especially when they move into multiplying 3-digit numbers by 2-digit numbers. But they're most comfortable. They feel a whole lot better when they see a 0 in there. All right, because we know because they're most comfortable with multiplying using zeros. All right, so that's one thing that I like about the area model. Here we go. So let's multiply. All right, what do we have here? We have 300 times 20, which is going to give us 6,000. All right, here we have 40 times 20, which is going to give us 800. Here we have 8 times 20, which is going to give us 160. All right, so what do I do now, Mrs. Singleton? I know 300 times 20 6,000. 40 times 20, 800. 8 times 20, 160. Well, what I'm going to do is, guys, because I'm going to take each of those products, all right, and I'm going to add them together. And how do I know that they're products? Because I had to multiply each of those. And we know a factor times a factor gives us a, yes, product. So I'm going to move over here and I'm going to take this, these three products, and I'm going to add them together. So I have 6,000 plus 800 plus 160. All right, here we go. When I begin to add it up, make sure I line everything up nice and neat. What do I get here? 6,960. With the area model, once I get the total of these products here, I'm going to come out to the side and write it here. 6,960. Why? Because when I add 6,000, when I take 6,000, add it to 800, and then add it to 160, I get 6,960. If you remember from our last video when we were talking about the standard algorithm, when we multiply whole numbers, we have a factor times a factor that gives us an overall product. But before we can get to that overall product, we have to get to our absolutely partial products. All right, 6,960 represents one of our partial products. Now let's move on to the second part of our equation. 300 times 4 gives us 1,200. 40 times 4 gives us 160. And then 8 times 4 gives us, basic fact, yes sir and ma'am, 32. What am I going to do here, Mrs. Singleton? Same thing I did here when I multiplied 300. When I multiplied 340 and 8 by 20, I'm going to come over here to the side, all right, and I'm going to write it out clearly and make sure I line everything up, because I want to make sure that I add that everything is in its place, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and add these up, and I get a total of 1,392. What am I going to do here? Go ahead and fill this in here, 1,392. Ta-da! What do I have? Partial products. Remember, before we can get to our overall product, when we're multiplying whole numbers, we have to get to our partial products. In this case, we have 6,960 and 1,392. Now, let me share this with you. One of the most common mistakes students make when they're using the area model is that they get the first partial product and the second partial product, and they say, okay, I'm finished. All right. Well, we're not finished, because remember, these are just our partial products. Now, I know some of you are thinking, well, yes, Mrs. Singleton, if I add them together, I'll get the overall product, but those two pieces are still apart. I would agree with you and say, yes, you were absolutely right. But it's our job as teachers to make sure that you understand this process, for you to understand how we get to the overall product. All right. So if you think that your teachers are just making you write things down just for the sake of writing things down, I promise that it's not the case. All right. We just want to make sure that you know the process. All right. So with that said, let's go ahead and do that. Let's take 6,960 and we're going to add 1,392 to it, because we want to get the overall product. All right. Plus 2 gives us 2. 6 plus 9 gives us 15. Write our 5, carry our 1. 9 plus 3 gives us 12. Thank you. Add our 1, that gives us 13. All right, 6 plus 1 gives us 7. Add 1 more, that gives us 8. So what is my overall product here, Mrs. Singleton? 8,352. Whew. All right. So what do you think? I'm hoping that you, if this is not your favorite method, or if you were just introduced to this, that you find something that you like about it. Again, this is the area model. How did I work this area model? Well, first I had to draw my rectangle, and then I break everything down, both of my factors down by the digits value. The digit within each factor holds a value, and that's what I did to break it down, or use expanded form. All right, I know you're familiar with that term. All right, I go through and I multiply each. All right, I multiply my first factor times 20, and then my first factor times 4. All right, I get my individual products, add those together, and that's going to give me my partial product for each. And then I take those partial products, add those two together to get my overall product. And there we have it, guys and girls. our overall product for our area model. Woo! All right, awesome. I hope you feel great. Remember, I'm working through this with you. We're working through this with you. Feel free to replay this video, pause it in certain areas if you want to try it by yourself. I look forward to working with you. Had a great time with you today. I look forward to working with you in the future. Please be sure to check out our other videos at STPPS TV or on our website at stpsb.org. Thank you for tuning in. I look forward to working with you soon. Happy learning.